What is going on, guys? Mango12 here, and we are back finally with Ultimate Spider-Man issue 40, and this is the beginning of volume 7 for you guys that are collecting them in volumes. So we've just completed the Venom Saga, which was volume 6. Venom will be returning later on in the Ultimate Spider-Man comics, but it's a little bit different. It's kind of like later, like past issue 100 or something like that. So yeah, that's quite a while away. But in the meantime, we're going to have another encounter with Dr. Octopus. We're going to have an encounter with Black Cat, Carnage, and a few more ups and downs with Mary Jane and Peter's relationship. But without getting into too much detail, let's just dive right on into this issue and experience these things together. So let's go! So jumping into the issue, if you remember, Peter doesn't exactly have a costume anymore because he lost it in a battle, and Peter can't exactly just ask Mary Jane to make them like she used to because they're not together anymore. So Peter's been going around to all of these wrestling places trying to find his costume, or at least what his costume started out as, because if you remember, Peter originally got his costume from that wrestling organization, and he doesn't know whether it was specifically made for him or whether it was just like a normal thing that he just got. So he's just jumping around to those places trying to figure out whether he can still get one, and it's not looking too good for him. Now we're going over to Mary Jane and Peter back in class, and of course it's a little bit, well, not awkward for them, but ever since Peter went round to Mary Jane's house in the middle of the storming rain, they haven't exactly spoken since. And Peter is just sitting there with a blank stare on his face, and Mary Jane knows Peter too well to know that something must be wrong with him, so she asks him. He wants to know why she would care, because she doesn't want to be with him. Well, why would she care? Peter's got questions of his own to ask, and everybody knows that when you're in the middle of class, do not write on pieces of paper to each other, because it always happens where the teacher catches you out and then reads out your notes to the entire class, and it's the most embarrassing thing ever. And obviously it's the most inevitable thing ever, and it actually happens. And I just love the reaction from Mary Jane when the book gets whisked out of her hand and she looks up and says, "Oh no," as if, "I can't believe that just happened." And Mary Jane and Peter just look down in disgrace, listening to their teacher read out their notes to each other in humiliation. Now moving on throughout the comic, Peter continues to look for his Spider-Man costume, trying to figure out where it actually came from, and he actually rings up the wrestling organization that he started out at, and we even get like a small cameo from the guy that screwed him over, and Peter pretends to be a toy company called Hasbro, who of course we all know so well from when we were all kids. So guys, if you guys are like still kids or whether you're growing up or whatever, it's most likely that the toys that you have or had were made by Hasbro. And you can see there that he just gets hung up on straight away, almost immediately, and we get this really interesting interaction between Flash and Peter, because you're probably thinking, well, Peter's being a little bit of an idiot right now, he's being kind of harsh, but if you think about it, Flash has literally bullied Peter his entire life, so the last thing Peter wants to do is do a favor for Flash, and at the very least, even believe him when he says, "I need to talk to you." One thing that we also got to catch a glimpse of back there is just how much Peter has evolved over time. Like, he would never talk to Flash like that, but now he's walking away calling him a jackass, he's being rude to him, and it's just awesome to see Peter standing up for himself like that, showing just how his character has developed over time, over these 40 issues. So what you're seeing on screen right now is a robbery, and yes, it is the exact same robbery from the beginning of the Ultimate Spider-Man game, even with the exact same dialogue, but with a slight twist. Here, Peter doesn't exactly have his costume or anything like that, and he looks more like an amateur, kind of like the wrestling, well, actually, he is wearing the wrestling clothes back when he first started out as wrestling Spider-Man. Now, I've noticed that some of you guys in the comments have been putting that the Ultimate Spider-Man game ruined the Ultimate Spider-Man comics for you, but I need to tell you that that can't exactly be true, because the Ultimate Spider-Man game was just an adaptation of the Ultimate Spider-Man comics. It wasn't an exact replica, nothing was exact, only small pieces of the Ultimate Spider-Man comics went into the Ultimate Spider-Man game. So you don't need to worry about spoiling anything for yourself. Now, I think that this crime that Spider-Man has just tried to stop has pretty much proven that he's having trouble creating his Spider-Man costume, and he needs some serious help. Even the criminals didn't believe that he was the real Spider-Man. They thought that he was just some guy dressed up as him or something like that. So he needs to sort that out. And whilst he's trying to repair his suit, once again, Gwen Stacy walks downstairs disturbing him, and it shows again, one of the difficulties of living with someone else in the house is that he's got to be cautious of Gwen walking downstairs and seeing him in his Spider-Man costume as well. So not only has he got to worry about Aunt May, but now he's got to worry about Gwen Stacy as well. And she actually gets talking to him about a party that's going on that none of them have been invited to, and they're so bored right now that they actually decide to go, which is actually pretty strange, because over here in the UK, if you're not invited to a party and then if you randomly turn up, everybody will probably just stare at you and be like, why are you here? So obviously American parties seem to work a little bit differently. Everyone just seems to turn up, unless it's one of those crazy parties where anyone can just turn up and no one even notices. Then yeah, most of the time everyone's just like, why are you here? But whilst Peter and Gwen are there, Peter is actually getting up to leave when he sees Mary Jane walking through the party looking like a hella bad chick and looking pretty awesome. Everyone's staring at her, all the heads at the party are turning to look at her, and yes, that is Liz Allen stood next to her, and you can kind of tell that Liz Allen has put Mary Jane up to this, like she's convinced Mary Jane to do herself up, to get out there, and to pretty much make Peter a little bit jealous. And Gwen Stacy, being the chick that knows it all, even says to Peter, well, yeah, that worked. And he says, what? And she goes, well, she did get your attention. So obviously, whatever Liz Allen was planning pretty much worked, because it made Peter feel a little bit like crap. It made him feel a little bit jealous. But whilst all this is going on, there's actually a huge explosion outside, and everyone runs outside to see this guy spontaneously blowing up cars, even the red convertible sports car. And honestly, if that was my car, someone even said there, who cares whose car it is, just do it anyway. And in real life, if that was my car, I would be going crazy. I would spontaneously just develop powers out of nowhere and kill that guy. But as you can see, everybody's loving it, and the next few issues are actually going to revolve around this guy and who exactly he is, and we're even going to have a little bit of a run-in with the X-Men about him. So that is the end of the issue, guys. What did you think? Let me know in the comment section below. So as I've just said, this guy that we just saw there is actually going to lead us to the Ultimate Universe's X-Men, and we're going to see Jean Grey, we're going to see Professor Xavier, etc., and it's going to be awesome. So guys, I'm going to give this issue an 8 out of 10. It was more based around Peter finding his costume and just the whole relationship stuff between Mary Jane and Peter. We're going to get some interesting relationship developments between those two characters in the next issue, which you guys are going to love. But until then, hit the like button on this video, hit the subscribe button for more, go to the links in the description to follow me on Twitter and Facebook for all the latest comic book news and updates. And if you want to know what I'm doing in my free time when I'm not editing these videos, then follow me on Instagram to see that. And guys, that is the end of this video, so I will see you all later.